Death Note is like my all-time favorite anime. I got so into the series that I even read through the original mangas.
I have the whole collection.
And something that I was really surprised by were the scenes that were in the manga that were either changed or omitted completely from the anime. And I wanted to showcase some of these missing scenes because why not? Most of the significant cuts comes from the second half of the anime, and one of the most interesting changes was the involvement of the Mafia, where in both the anime and the manga, Mello, with the backing of a Mafia crime syndicate, kidnaps Light's sister and successfully obtains the Death Note as an exchange for her life. And the anime has it in the very next episode, Light enacting his plan and getting the notebook back from Mello by raiding the Mafia hideout, but at the cost of his own father's life. In the manga, however, the time between Mello obtaining the notebook and Mello losing it is much longer, so you really get a sense of the damage and torment a person like Mello could do with a Death Note, such as coercing more information from the chief of police, threatening the US president and using the Death Note to control him and making him launch the nukes, unless he gives you a full pardon, funding, weapons, and also the use of US satellites, which leads to a plot point that was completely omitted from the anime. That has it where the president gives the current L, who's actually Light, the command of his top covert operatives to raid Mello's Mafia hideout. But the raid immediately fails when one by one the helmets that were concealing the faces of all the special operatives are forcibly taken off by an invisible force, which turns out to be Sito, and are instantly killed by the Death Note that's being used by one of the Mafia members, allowing the Mafia and Mello to escape. And then that's when the manga tracks back to what was depicted in the anime. Following the end of the Mafia arc in the anime, we very briefly have Mello involved with the plot, holding one of the SPK member at gunpoint in order to meet Nier face to face, and getting his one photograph from him. Once he's there, he discloses some information about the notebook, declares his challenge to Nier, and he's never seen again until the third to last episode, and then he just dies. And in the manga, Mello's role is still kind of paper thin, but it ain't to the same degree as they have it in the anime. Like for example, when Mello holds the SPK member at gunpoint, I believe her name is like Helly Berry, I don't know. But anyway, you get like a little bit extra with her. Like it's revealed that she was actually a spy for Mello, leaking information for him. And you get like a little tidbit about her background, where apparently someone she was close with was one of the victims of Higuchi when he was Kira. And also after Mello's encounter with Nier, he doesn't just disappear, he actually has an active presence in the plot. Not the biggest, but at least he's there. The best example of this was Mello's scheme in luring Mogi, one of the Japanese task force members, to the SPK headquarters without Nier's knowledge, and forcing Mogi to go under interrogation between Mello and Nier, while the rest of the task force members, including Light, listens into the questioning. And this really ends up being an attack on Light's credibility, as both Nier and Mello just pile on evidence against Light, casting doubts on his innocence. But the interrogation is cut short when Light coordinates a mob of Kita followers to raid the SPK headquarters. And out of all the stuff taken out, this segment should have been kept in. It kept Mello in the game. It had a more intense and interesting scenario with Mogi being interrogated, and it's also one of the only times the two successors ever team up with each other, and they're effective against Light together, which gives more weight to what Nier said about him and Mello in the end of the story.
I bet Mello knew in his heart that working by ourselves, neither of us would be able to attain our goal and surpass our mentor, L. But together we can stand with L. Together we can surpass L. And now, acting as one, we face the kid who defeated L, and with solid evidence, beat him at his own game.
So there's basically two alternate takes on how Light meets his end. In the anime, Light, now exposed as Kira, attempts to write Nier's name in a ripped piece of paper, but it's stopped by Matsura, who shoots him up. Mikami, in complete shock, performs seppuku and explodes, allowing Light to escape from the warehouse. We then follow Light, severely injured, broken, and defeated, running aimlessly. The anime makes his demise extremely sympathetic. You kinda can't help but feel sorry for him, knowing where he started and where he ended up. It's actually sad when he dies, whereas in the manga, Light's demise isn't so dignified. Where after being shot by Masuda like in the anime, he's denounced by Mikami, who doesn't kill himself, and in a last-ditch effort just begs Ryuk to kill everyone, and seemingly Ryuk complying with the request. But it turns out instead of writing everybody else's name in the notebook, Ryuk only wrote Light's name. So in his final moments, Light dies as a coward, pleading to Ryuk to undo what he himself had done to so many others. The epilogue was omitted completely from the anime, taking place 1 year after Light's death. We see the aftermath of Kira's defeat, such as crime rate surging back to an all-time high. We also have a quick rundown to all the main characters. Mikami, for example, who didn't kill himself like he did in the anime, instead was successfully imprisoned, but died mysteriously 10 days after his incarceration, which is a basis of a theory that Matsuda talks about himself in the epilogue, that has it that Nier used the death note on Mikami to ensure that he would win against Light. The theory is actually really interesting, but kinda too long to explain in this video. Aizawa, now the police chief, is contacted by Nier, who's taken the mantle of L. He asks for Aizawa's assistance for a high-profile case that he's investigating in the local area. Everything seems to be as it should be, but somewhere afar proves that maybe the world didn't exactly revert back to what it once was, with the final panels of the story showing a flock of Kira followers that appears to be in the hundreds, marching in tribute to their god. Kira's influence may be diminished, but it isn't gone. We end the story of Death Note with one of the female worshippers delivering the final lines. Kira, our savior. As far as adaptations go, the anime is the best you're gonna get to the original intent of the author. Aside from what I pointed out here and some other minor stuff that I didn't cover, it's basically a shot-for-shot remake to the manga. And the few things they added into the story were actually really interesting. So honestly, whichever iteration of Death Note you consume, you're probably gonna like it. Oh,